Welcome back to the Unanimous Decision Podcast. I am your host, D Palm. Follow me on Twitter at DPalm66. Follow the show on Twitter at UDPod. Follow the entire MTR network at the MTR network. And I'm coming to you live to tape, from Palmer Studios 3.0. Yesterday I spent it packing up alongside my wife and a couple friends and my brother, packing up my life and moving it to our new home. And when I tell you, I'm not saying this is my flu game, but your boy rolled his ankle. This is not an easy podcast to record, but I'm glad you found us. You found us, don't lose us. Subscribe to the iTunes store. Subscribe to every podcast you're giving away for absolutely free. Now that you found it, you're not going to lose it. Leave that 5-star review. Let us know you're listening. Let us know what you think about the show. We've got episode 100 coming up, which is kind of dawning on me that this is my second podcast I've taken to 100 episodes, basically as the host. And I haven't had more fun. And I do a lot of stuff on the Internet Network, but this has been a great 100 or a great 96 or 7 or wherever we're recording right now. And I just want to say thanks to everyone. And I'll get more sentimental at 100. But, yeah, it's fast approaching. We're going to hit it probably around my birthday, which means you might get a disjointed semi-drunk podcast, or you might get like a really reflective one. So we'll have to see. Enough of the preamble. I am joined today by my guest, Rich from PWTorch's Deep Dive with Rich Fann. He's also known for his work at BuffaloWins.net. And I got to say, man, he's become one of my good friends on this here internet. How you doing today, Rich?
I'm good, Paul. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it. We got a lot of subjects to cover, and I probably got a lot of awkward things to drop on some fools.
That's why I love having you, and that's why I love going on your shows, because I think you and I, we stand in a lot of the same places, and we know how uncomfortable some of those places make other people, and we revel in
it.
Yes. 100%. Yeah, so this whole moving thing, man, they don't tell you. So I got spoiled, I'm not going to lie. When we moved to Philadelphia and we moved back, we had a moving company. And they come in, they handle your stuff insured and bonded. They lost our wall art for a month and a half once, but beyond that, pretty good experience. We moved out of this rental house to the house we bought, and it's only 2.3 miles. So we rented a U-Haul. We did it ourselves. I'm not a young man, Rich. These are things I'm coming to grips with today as I fight through the soreness and the ankle and just the overall. Now it's all in here. Now we've got to unpack these boxes of it all. And as much fun as it's been, maybe next time I drop the extra money and get someone to do it for me. I don't know. I do know that it's Father's Day. I'm taking away from your family, and I appreciate you being here. Happy Father's Day to you and to all our listeners out there who are fathers. And as divisive as this holiday can be, I find that one thing unites us all, and that's the love of a good parade. And this week we were afforded two of them on the same day. The Washington Capitals capturing their first ever Stanley Cup, rode through the streets of D.C. We covered last week Ovechkin's kind of week-long bender with the cup. What did you think seeing some of the scenes of that parade? Because that, for me, that was pure joy. That was something that I think even D.C. fans never thought they'd actually see.
Yeah, living in Pittsburgh, it's a very different feeling here for most of the people I work with and live around. It's absolute just disgust. And it's because of the fact that they thought they could keep away from this man an opportunity to hit the pinnacle of his professional career just as a rule. Like, we're the Penguins. We make sure Ovechkin never makes it out of the first or second round. And so to see him with it, it is the ultimate in seeing, just like you said, unbridled joy, because he is just living his best life and praying at some point the Penguins don't show up with a Money in the Bank briefcase and try to cash it in.
I'm counting that. That was amazing. Well done. But no, you're right. It's something in perspective I had never thought about, because you're right. For so long, the Penguins had been the gatekeeper to the Capitals. Had been Capitals won the President's Cup, Ovechkin league in points. But here come the Penguins, and that like air of inevitability. I guess even more than the titles that they've collected in Pittsburgh in the recent area, right? Their identity had been disallowing Alex Ovechkin to ever make a Stanley Cup final. That's insanely pending, Rich.
Yeah, it is. It is. Like, my in-laws are just beside themselves that he has the audacity to win that title. Like, how dare you, sir? We
That's
had an
really,
agreement.
I don't know why, but that's really funny to me because I can tell that it's 1,000% true that people really do feel that way. And like hearing it out loud, I can't think of anything in my sports life, and maybe that's just because Atlanta, where I would be this hurt by someone else's success, except for the fact that the Saints had a Super Bowl. The
Yeah,
fact that the Saints had a Super Bowl makes me understand it, kind of.
yeah. Imagine if it was in the reverse, that the Falcons had won that Super Bowl against the Colts, and the Saints are just living their worst lives outside of it, and you guys are like, oh, hey, don't have a Super Bowl ring. Couldn't be me.
So in this situation, we're the Caps, aren't we?
Yeah, you're gonna get your time, and then you get once you get that ring, though, you walk in the room and they can't say anything.
Once we get that ring, you say that like you're not a Bills fan and I'm not a Falcons fan. Anyway, let's move on. The NBA had a parade as well. The Warriors had their third parade in 4 years. Some would say it's getting a little bit old hat, but every year we find a new wrinkle. The first year, Joe Lacob thanking all the executives who were able to get this team, quote, on such great team-friendly contracts, which is like going to the year-end celebration and having your executives say, hey, congrats on our HR, finding a way to underpay all of our employees. Not the best feeling. This year we had Jordan Bell running out of Hennessy. Now, I personally am not a Hennessy drinker, but I do know if there's one rule in my life, once you've run out of something, getting the next bottle of it's probably not the best idea, right, Rich?
No, I don't even drink, and I know that's a bad idea.
But now Hennessy's like sending him boxes of Hennessy. He shared, Jordan Bell shared on Instagram a photo of a dozen different size bottles saying, Hennessy wants, thank you so much for the love, I appreciate it. Like, part of me's like, yeah, probably don't go steal the fans' Hennessy because why are fans giving rich people alcohol? But also, like, it kind of worked. Hennessy knows Jordan Bell's name now. This is a marketing opportunity. And without going too far off course, they probably should stop using Nas's voice.
Yeah. I mean,
Jordan Bell is a champion. Jordan Bell's an NBA champion. That's marketability right there.
As you always say, life is pro wrestling. From now on, he is Mr. Hennessy Jordan Bell.
I can't believe he stole it from J.R. Smith. Like, J.R. Smith was the Henny god. And Jordan Bell not is only the Henny god, he's a Henny corporation. I'm very impressed on how he's taken that title, which may be the biggest upset of the offseason, except for this. So did you catch any of the footage of the Warriors parade?
I did.
Did you see what the GM said?
No, I did not.
Oh, my goodness. So they're doing the thing where, you know, there's a announcer whose name I don't know. I apologize. But he just goes up and he's making the small talk with the GM, and everyone's having a good time. And Bob Myers, on Monday, had said to the media that he would bring back Kevin Durant, the two-time Finals MVP, whatever it takes. He'd give him whatever contract he wanted. During the parade, though, he was asked in front of all the fans and his players, said, hey, you do mention that you offered to give Steph Curry everything last year. You give away everything again. He says, well, I just said that for the media. Myers said, he can't have anything mid-level. Everyone laughed because clearly you don't give Kevin Durant a mid-level contract. That's hilarious. And then he says, and then when pressed on it and asked about Steph, he said, well, yeah, that was different. He's been here for the run for the way before days. Like, Kevin Durant hears it from fans. He hears it from talking heads. He hears it from retired NBA players who did the same thing and it just didn't work out because Houston wasn't good enough, Charles. But to hear it from the man who presumably you're going to be open negotiations with and whom you said you'll take a team-friendly deal from, doesn't it make you feel like kind of, what's the word, a sucker?
Well, Palm, I would remind you this is also a gentleman that has several burner accounts and a Qualtrics survey at the ready at any point for his teammates to judge how is he doing. So that's not the best person to be saying, oh, he's not worth the contract we said, because he already has opened himself. And I heard Bomani Jones talk about that this week. He's already one of the rare superstars that is completely open in terms of how much he values positive affirmations from his teammates and his team. So if your GM is looking at you as a sucker, as you said, that's not going to be good.
Like, eventually, like, yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, you're right. KD is that quote-unquote rare superstar who doesn't find the only joy in life from winning. I get that. But to have it be thrown in your face in public, like, that wasn't like, oh, we're all drinking and you made a joke and the team, it was kind of awkward. You hear the crowd turn. The crowd's like, oh, shit. Like you've watched something secondhand awkwardness. Like, you're like, oh, Jesus, subject. This is not fun to watch.
Yeah, it's like you're sitting there, you're talking about how great it is, you got this raise, and then a cousin comes in and is like, so how's your mom's divorce?
What was that?
Wow.
Ugh. Like, it just feels it couldn't be me, Kevin. Me, myself, I hope he runs them for all their money now. And what's funny is that this whole thing they built there, it's coming due soon. Draymond openly said that he took the pay cut in 2015. I believe he took $12 or $15 million less than he could have, so to allow space to sign Kevin Durant. He expects to be made whole now. He's in a contract year next year.
He wants the Supermax.
Exactly. But the thing is, to earn the Supermax, he's going to have to make an inassailable case, which means Draymond Green's going to shoot more next year. And nothing that Steve Kerr says to him, and their contentious relationship is well documented. Nothing Steve Kerr says is going to make Draymond Green not shoot more. So we're like at a place now that, maybe it is just the one thing of, oh, you made an off-color joke about Kevin Durant's contract situation, his inability to do what you guys want him to do, but also kind of made it look like a punk. And then you got Draymond with his hand out. And I know that we paint this picture of the Warriors as this team-first organization, this everyone sacrifices for the good of the whole. Pat Riley wrote a book about his first three-peat with the Lakers, and he called it the disease of more. Once you win, everyone wants more recognition, more money, more spotlight. And I don't care how great, and especially this Warriors team, they're still human. And it seems like some people are going to want more.
Yeah. I mean, look at what happened with the Seahawks in the NFL. The Seahawks and the Warriors are very interesting because they were both created as really good teams in the case of the Warriors super team, but it was homegrown, and it was because they were devalued by the league they were in.
Right.
You had a Cam Chancellor who was seen as 6'5", 233 pounds, but how do you play him at safety? Because you have Russell Wilson, who is seen as 5'10", maybe he's a backup, I don't know. And then when those bills come due, like you said, that disease of more kicks in. If you think about it with the Warriors, you want to give Draymond a supermax. You still have another splash brother that's going to need an extension. You still have, especially if he wants the supermax, if Draymond's shooting more, what is Steph going to do?
And that's the other thing that they don't tell you is that, the supermaxes, there's no cap. They can technically do it. But at a certain point, Joe Lacob gets sick of paying $2 to make one. The luxury tax is big, it's real. But the beauty of Joe Lacob's business model, the revenue generated in the postseason, he's got a guaranteed 16 extra home games.
Right.
And you don't pay the players. Go look at an NBA contract and look at what you get paid for the playoffs. It's paltry because it's not guaranteed, because it's an incentive, and it's a low incentive. Same with NFL games. I think NFL players play playoff games for something on the average of like $13,000 a game. So they found a loophole that as long as they keep winning, it can become fiscally ideal. But the luxury tax is real, and it's put in place to prevent situations like this. And we may start finally seeing the strains because, your GM doesn't get to say that about the finals MVP. I'm sorry.
Right.
I don't make the rules. I just report them. You don't get to do that.
Nope.
All right, so I've talked about the champs. Let's talk about the best in the world, LeBron James. So the sweepstakes is on. We're in year, which is sweepstakes 3.0. The first one resulted in the decision. The second resulted in the return. This one, for my money, hopefully would result in the mercenary LeBron era, where he finds a team in the league, says, have you ever won a finals? They say no. He says, sign me to a 1-year deal. Let's go to the finals. That won't happen.
Here for it, but yeah.
The question now becomes, where does he land? The landing places people were talking about, the Lakers, which we'll talk about in a second. Lakers, the Celtics is possible, which would be just I don't believe in the kind of narcissism that allows you to think that, I'm part of a Truman Show-esque performance art piece. But if LeBron gets traded to the Celtics, either for Kyrie or to play alongside Kyrie, if he thought that, I couldn't put it past him.
I mean, Bomani mentioned the fact that since the anything is possible days, he's basically waxed the Celtics. So if he joined them, he could eventually never lose to them again. And that level of petty is something I appreciate.
If he can ruin Kyrie Irving's life and erase the Celtics from as a boogeyman forever, and make those people cheer him, I kind of want that now. I just want to see Celtics fans in LeBron jerseys. I don't want the Celtics to be good because it's the Celtics, but I'm kind of here for that. You've now talked me into it, and it didn't take that much.
And Philly, for Simmons they're redundant.
If he goes to Philly, you got to go to Ben.
Yeah,
he's better Ben Simmons. I
mean, at this point, with his age, Palm, I would love, just to be funny about it, have him play point guard.
That's what I've always said. I've said that the end of the LeBron James story isn't a precipitous fall off of athleticism let go and he couldn't perform anymore. His last 5 years in the league, he can be your starting point guard. He'll average 14 assists a game, probably 18 points, and you'll hate yourself. Everyone will hate you because all he'll be doing is making other people better.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does. When he comes through and systematically explains why his team fails after games.
When the tail
take that brain
is Magic Johnson, that's terrifying.
Yes.
That's
hey, I made this nuke the size of a suitcase. It's hey, it's no problem. Oh, you want, I always see whenever you put on this, hey, I have this really cool outfit and I can become a superhero and it's in my ring. I didn't need it to be in my ring, but I put it in my ring because I could.
But it can be in the ring. And that's what's crazy. LeBron is putting things in the ring now. It's getting to the point where people are saying, oh, the Heat broke the league. This is an argument I saw someone say that the Heat built the first super team. Meanwhile, the Heat was built literally in response to the fact that LeBron couldn't beat the anything is possible Celtics.
Yeah.
And
I mean, if you look at the history, 70s, 80s, 90s, there were 2 or 3 teams winning each decade.
Oh, parity is not the way of the NBA. People who say they want parity in basketball, go watch college basketball because nothing matters and no one's any good. But the NBA has always been dominated by 1 or 2 teams by era. And guess what? For most of the NBA's history, it's been the same 8 teams. The Lakers and Celtics have 75% of finals appearances. For people who say they want a balanced NBA, no, you don't. You're lying. The NBA is at its best when things are good. And here's an example. Hey, so those Celtics teams that came together, the anything is possible, that first year, they won 66 games. No other team won more than 59. They won an NBA Finals that basically that allowed Paul Pierce to do performance art on hurting himself. He literally did a one-act play in the middle of it. The league got better. The league responded. The Warriors came in and have been an absolute juggernaut. The Rockets took him to 7. Things are going in the right direction. The parity that you say you want would stagnate this league. And let's talk about stagnated NBA. Because I watched this week the 20th anniversary of the Jordan quote-unquote hangover game. I mean flu game. Susan, my wife, was not an NBA fan at the time. So I'm trying to explain to her kind of the context of the things in the game. And she saw John Stockton and said, wait, he started for the Jazz? And part of me got really defensive because John Stockton is one of my favorite point guards of all time. I love the way his mind for the game. But part of me is like, oh my God, she's right. Jeff Hornacek looks like a middle school math teacher, and John Stockton looks like not a generic middle school math teacher, a specific math teacher from my high school. I confirmed this by texting two of my friends, like, have you ever noticed how John Stockton looks like Mr. Blank? And they were like, why would you do this? Now I can't unsee it.
Listen, kids, I would love to do your calculus homework, but I got to play the Sixers on Tuesday.
I got to run 47 pick and rolls with Karl Malone. It probably trips some people on out there because he's dirty. But the thing is, and this is where I get back to the LeBron discussion, is people want to make this legacy debate, and Kobe Bryant and his fans have roared in from the East that no one saw coming. This battle of all of a sudden three-way dance. They're trying to cash in a briefcase they ain't got. But a lot of it comes down to context. And you think about the 90s, we all think about the Chicago Bulls. And the reason we think about the Chicago Bulls is because they were the only team that was any good. Look at the pace of play. People say, oh, it was the rule changes and the hand checking. The hand checking was allowed because the players weren't scoring. In the 80s, what happened was talent peaked and players were about to get out and go, the style selection. So the style of the Showtime Lakers. In response, the league slowed down the pace of the game to the point where you were getting 74-76 rock fights. The reason you allowed hand checking is because Michael Jordan was such a transcendent singular offensive talent at that time that otherwise the Bulls would outscore the teams by 60 points every night. That's how good the Bulls were in relative to a down NBA. Who did the Bulls beat in the finals? An end-of-the-road Lakers team. Right?
Yep.
A Sonics team that probably peaked too early. And that's the other thing is, if you look at these squads, they're never the best team from that franchise. Is that the best Lakers team ever? Absolutely not. Was that the best Suns team ever? Absolutely not. Was that the best Sonics team ever? The 07 or the 2012 Oklahoma City Thunder are the best Sonics team of all time. Sorry. The Jazz. That's the one exception. The Jazz team, that's the best Jazz team ever. And they had no bench. And so when we say as a blanket statement, the Bulls or Jordan did it in a better era, that's not true. His team was better than other teams relative to that era. The era was not better. It's just not true.
As a Knicks fan that enjoyed watching people get suplexed and every year in the playoffs by random Knicks, I will be very inclined to agree.
Yeah. People say they love the tournament, and March Madness. The reason the tournament's fun is because no one knows anything and no one's any good. Anything can happen. The reason the playoffs in the NBA are good because you watch greatness assert itself. You get to watch things like the Warriors go down 3-2 and come back and beat those Rockets by winning on the road in the Game 7. You get to watch LeBron James get pushed by a very game Pacers squad until he decides, I'm about done seeing you guys play me. I'm going to stop this right now. You get to see him obliterate the Raptors. Like, the fact that the Raptors are rolling on the team next year is like, I want to be like, that's a profile in courage. Like, give them an SP because I would shut the doors. We'd be done as a franchise. After all the offseason chirping, after everyone telling us how the Raptors had finally turned the corner to not win a game against LeBron James again. With a level of this, like, that's the one series where I'll point to this year and be like, I don't think LeBron likes the Raptors. I think he's competitive with the Warriors. I think it's a very real rivalry. I think that he respects the Celtics and doesn't like them because of history. I think he actively hates the Raptors.
He must have got a bad Tim Hortons coffee or something.
It's like Canada's done something wrong with LeBron James, and they should apologize because otherwise the Raptors that's the other thing is, if he goes to the Celtics, aren't the Raptors and the Celtics in the same division? Because that'd be hilarious. Are they both in the Atlantic? I should know that. Anyway, so we're talking about LeBron landing spots, and everyone's up in a tizzy about free agency 3.0. What will LeBron do? The LeBron stakes. When news breaks late in the week, Kawhi Leonard's done in San Antonio, demanding a trade, and Los Angeles Lakers are on the list of places he wants to go. Now, people say Kawhi's under contract, make him play. he's proven in the last season, whatever you believe about his injury situation or not, he's willing to not play an entire season. He played 9 of the 82 last year. And apparently he met with Pop. And I'm one of those Pop's miracle worker. You can make anything happen. It didn't work. And what's happening now is, do you gamble that his asset will work for you next year and play for you when he's shown that he clearly won't do it if he doesn't want to? Or do you say, let's try to get what we can get now? But now that it's gone public, hasn't the cap been set on what you can get for a disgruntled Kawhi Leonard who only wants to go certain places?
Well, I mean, you're going to have to suck it up and just deal with it. I think a lot of times, especially people who just follow NFL, don't realize the power of the guaranteed contract.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to this is the era of figuring it out. That's how I look at things with anything in the NBA. You want this guy, for instance, if LeBron and Kawhi want to go to the Lakers, for instance, figure it out. You're gonna figure, and that also means most likely the Ball family is gonna have to be somewhere else, because there's no world in which LeBron James is gonna play with LeVar and his cavalcade of ridiculous.
Well, that's the other thing about the LeBron James of it all is, like, I guess he keeps getting asked, and it's becoming less of a joke that maybe he's in the league when Bronny turns 18. And because, I mean, it's only 4 years from now, and LeBron James just damn near put up a triple-double with a broken hand in the finals. So I'm not saying there's anything LeBron really can't do, but we've never a father and son, forget the same team, just being in the league at the same time. Baseball, yeah, because it's baseball. With the Griffeys, I never thought I'd see this in basketball. This is getting into the realm of kind of creepy. And let's just play this on experiment. If Kawhi and LeBron both end up in Los Angeles, it's always going to be, oh, look, LeBron and Kawhi won, or the Lakers lost. Like, we're never going to ever put anything particularly on LeBron out there, right?
No. I would see it as Batman and Son, the live action edition. Like, I would cry tears of joy, because it would just be life lessons while winning titles together. It's like, son, this dude's a
Black Fatherhood, the basketball team. He's just going to be taking fucking players under his wing, and like, oh man. And that's the other crazy thing is, if he goes to the Lakers, that's an opportunity to erase the Kobe Bryant influence over that franchise forever. Because you have guys like who graduated from that, like Kyle Kuzma's like a Kobe guy. Like he listens to Kobe Bryant, he's advice from Kobe Bryant. If LeBron James comes in and becomes team dad, like, Kobe may come back on the Warriors. Like, there was a joking tweet about this week, but I think that would drive Kobe back to the league. Like, I will not be forgotten.
Yeah, he's like, where is your dad now? Oh, he's right there.
It's obscene. It's absurd. And the NBA is getting weird. Not as weird as baseball, because I just showed you this link. There was a game in 2016. Terry Francona got into it with the refs and said some ridiculous curse words. Like, curse words I didn't know were curse words. Like, curses that I was like, that's just creative. Like, I wouldn't even I was just impressed. And Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, has decided to make this opportunity to try to get this removed from the internet. Rich, how easy to get things off the internet?
Not.
Well, they're doing
unless you're Beyonce.
Right? Oh, shit. I can't even. I don't have the words for that right now. I really don't. But yeah, so they're trying to get off the internet. It's working in some places. It's hard to put that toothpaste back in that tube. But Rich, the problem here is that when they mic'd the umps, they said that certain conversations, certain things that happen on the field will never be public. And this is now a breach of trust with your workforce. And while you and I appreciate this because it's a pretty interesting thing to happen in a pretty uninteresting sport, the question now becomes, what do we do? How do we deal with this?
Yeah.
How do you reestablish a trust that may be broken? I don't have any answers. For me, it's crazy. For me, it's creepy. And I kind of want them to keep doing it. I don't know. It feels dirty because, yeah, they did violate their workforce. But at the same time, I was entertained. And as far as, my selfishness goes, keep the party going.
I mean, you have people complaining about bat flips. And this dude ripped paint off the walls with the sheer number of curse words he was hitting this guy with.
It was. I really hope you can find a place where it's still, because it's really funny. The story of the NFL offseason that hasn't emanated from 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue has been holdouts. And when the most recent CBA was signed, it was kind of legislated out that we'd never really see a legitimate protracted holdout again because it just became too costly. But because of the revenue split happening and because some of the markets are being reframed around a lot of these players, you're seeing a spike in holdouts, particularly notable holdouts, this offseason. Let's go down some of the biggest names. Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle from the Rams, did not report facility last year, and now he's still working on his rookie deal from the 2014 draft. But he's received, only $10 million for a 4 year career, and he should be, I think, paid in full, made full with this. Julio Jones didn't sign out last year, probably should have, I think, honestly held out last year. He has signed a 5-year deal for $71 million in 2015. And now 7 receivers have signed contracts averaging more than the $14.25 million he gets. He's got 3 years left in the deal, but this is that's one where, as a personal investment, pay Julio Jones. Khalil Mack, defensive end from the Raiders, signed a deal a year ago. But hey, free agency in 2 years, and he's made 3 trips to the Pro Bowl in 3 years, 36.5 sacks, and only 27 years old. He's got to make – this is a position where, again, nothing is promised. A good example of nothing being promised, Earl Thomas, 29 years old, 2014, he signed a 4-year, $40 million extension, highest paid safety in NFL. But with free agency looming and his injury history being kind of called the suspect, it makes sense that he too would want to try to get some kind of security going into the contract here. Le'Veon Bell, your Steelers, though I guess your local Steelers, he held out last year. He's still not being made whole. Franchise tag looks good on paper, but if I were him, I'd want more money too. David Johnson, another running back, wanting more money. Rich, I have no stance against any of these players. What about you?
No, I am a part of the get paid all stars. You have a very finite time on this earth with that skill, and few people have that skill to the level you do. So, especially with the amount of money the NFL receives, I think it is totally fine for you to push to get as much of it as you can.
Amen to that, man. Like you said, especially in the world of a non-guaranteed contract, nothing is promised, nothing is forever, and they could cut you tomorrow and not owe you a dime. So let's find a way to make this most effective and best for the players, because you're right, these are skill sets that are very temporary, and to maximize your earning potential has to be priority number one. I don't care what they tell you about, playing for winner X, Y, or Z. Hell, even going back to the Kawhi discussion, you've seen a lot of dissent out of the Patriots camp, and that's, always been, the Patriot way, the Spurs way. With the Kawhi thing breaking, you're like, oh, is this mystique gone? Because you wonder, would the mystique of the Patriots outlast Tom Brady? Would Tom Brady retire in 2 years? How long could you still lean on the quote-unquote Patriot way? If you look at the Spurs, apparently it's 3 to 4 years. Tim Duncan and Tom Brady are both similar athletes in that they had a vision for their team that very rarely put themselves first. The idea that you would capture lightning in the bottle with either one of those athletes again, and then I think that's kind of what Spurs fans took for granted in Kawhi, is that, he's another Tim Duncan. There is no other Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan's barely a Tim Duncan. It's magic, and it's hard to capture. All right, Rich, I got to ask you. You've been a Bills fan, but you've also been vocal about somehow the Bills fan base is gone. I got to ask, going into this mini camp season, which, by the way, used to be a footnote in your local paper, but now because #content, June becomes mini camp month, and I fucking hate it. Now, I just wanted to get that out there. I want to make sure that everyone knows I'm covering this because it is June and there is nothing going on. And I'll be damned if I sit here for an hour and talk about baseball. Now, we talked about your problems with the Bills, kind of the attitudes of not just the ownership, but also a lot of the fan base kind of reflected in the treatment of Tyrod Taylor the last couple of years. Where do you stand as a Bills fan today?
Oh, I stand, 3 states and several thousand miles apart and pointing at them like, y'all get what you deserve. There was an article that came out, and I think Pro Football Talk ran with it, and Tyrod Taylor said, his dream is to lead the Browns to the playoffs and knock the Bills out of it. And a lot of Bills fans I saw on Twitter wrote, like, oh, you already did that last year. And I think my reaction to it being that's the meanest thing a guy who a team actively sought to undermine and belittle said to you, and you react as if he cussed your mom out. So I know I have a Bleacher Report app on my phone. I don't follow much of the Bills stuff. I still talk to some of the reporters because they're good human beings.
Right.
And I have friends that are Bills fans. But for the most part, I'm going to be watching and rooting for the Browns to do well, root for the Steelers to do okay, and hope the Bills fall into a landmine and get out of said landmine and get eaten by the Predator or alien Predator mix from that godforsaken movie. And then they all get sucked into the, event horizon. That being said, I still have season tickets because I like making money. And so I'm dumb, but I'm not stupid.
There you go. Because it's a very active and loud fan base. There's way too many Bills fans who are my friends in Atlanta. So I know that they're out there and they travel well. So it's interesting because you're one of those fans who is kind of been lost in the shuffle who people say, we're trying to make sure we don't hurt our fan base. They're like, we're fans too.
Right.
We care too, or we cared until you told us actively our caring wasn't required or desired. And you can't why. Go ahead.
Oh no, I go back to the lawsuit and the deposition by Jerry Jones. You can't win this one. I win this one.
Right.
That is what the President of the United States said to him, and you're seeing it every day when it comes to people who stay in the locker room are just as bad as people who kneel. I'm sorry. And I could imagine him putting his hands up like every single person I've ever met who says, I don't get how you can see that as racist. I'm sorry. And so, yeah, I'm more than happy. Like, I have the NFL Network. I can watch that. I can watch Arsenal. I can watch my team because with unfortunately, my head coach for my high school team had a stroke, and he's going to be medically unable to coach this year. So I'm taking on more responsibility. So I can stay connected to the game of football in ways that do not give me pause ethically, morally, or as far as how I identify as a black man in America.
Well, I know something else you can watch, and that's professional wrestling. And if you thought that I was going to have Rich Fann or PWTorch on to talk about just sports and not sports entertainment, you don't know me very well. Rich, 2018 has been a super weird year in professional wrestling, even through the lens of the super weird 2017 and even weirder 2016. We're halfway through the year, and we've watched 2 non-Japanese in the same show claim the top 2 titles in New Japan Professional Wrestling as Chris Jericho walked out of Dominion as IWGP Intercontinental Champion, defeating Naito and Kenny Omega in a match that literally moved me, winning 2 out of 3 falls over Okada to claim the IWGP Championship. What the hell is going on?
I mean, and I'll go one further. Then the first thing he did after winning that title was hop on a plane to E3 to go up against Xavier Woods in the New Day in Street Fighter 5 30th Anniversary Edition.
I was going to get to that. Don't you worry. I watched that stream. Don't you worry about that. I was definitely going to talk about that.
I did too. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm letting the man – I'm going to let you run this. I'm trying to grab the ball. I'm just going to get to my spot, take my shot.
But this is this is insane. Like, we've seen some of the highest level wrestling that I've ever seen in my life on larger stages and involving people like if you told me that's how Dominion would end a year ago, I'd be like, but that doesn't make any. How are we going to get there? And now that I've seen it, I can't do anything but stand and applaud. Dave Meltzer, and people's opinions on Dave Meltzer may vary, but he is an authoritative voice in the professional wrestling world, and his star system is someone that's regarded across the board. First ever 7-star match, and I didn't see anyone really arguing.
Yeah, I saw a few people. I had a couple of folks from the Torch do it respectfully, and then a couple of people jumped in because that's how Twitter is. And I'll tell you the same thing I told folks last night on the deep dive. While the star system wasn't created by Dave, it was something that was a combination of Cornette and other tape traders of that era. Dave's made it famous. It's like a hamburger. You don't spend 50 years being a pancake place and then think you can jump in the burger game and I'm going to respect your opinion. Sorry, IHOB. You can't be a person who – I haven't seen your pelts in the wall. I've seen Dave Meltzer's. I've seen that guy be right far more than wrong. And so if he tells me this is a match that has now changed the course of professional wrestling, I'm going to be inclined to agree if I hadn't already agreed with him.
You can put out a facial tissue, but everything's called a Kleenex. Dave Meltzer's the Kleenex of professional wrestling ranking. Sorry. That's just how it works. He earned it. And between these two putting on the show they put on and this upcoming All-In event, is this the high water mark for non-WWE wrestling right now? Because, and I will have this conversation with anyone in the world, I'm appreciating Cody Rhodes more than I thought I ever could. Like, he might be my favorite wrestler on the planet right
now. I'm in heaven because when he came out, I was one of the few people who was like, this is going to be awesome because you've never seen a person have the guts to leave and say, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it my way and I'm going to be good at it. Other than Daniel Bryan, when he got fired from WWE and he told Vince when he called, you'll hire me back in a year and I'll make more money. And I've made more money on the indies than I ever would have made in my life. And by God, he did in 6 months. Mm-hmm. With Cody, he came out, he had a plan. He had his list. He's now, accomplished more than many people thought he could. And he's developed a character that is just pure pro wrestling. Like you just mentioned, sport. Like you can't touch. And his life is pure pro. He's the son of Dusty freaking Rhodes. But you take his wife, this ridiculously good-looking woman who also now gets to shine brighter than she's ever shown in WWE, both as a wrestler, a character, a three-dimensional person, and she's involved in the story as well. So you look at all of these little things and they're interconnected. And I think that's what the magic word is in 2018, interconnectivity. You have an ex-WWE wrestler teaming up with two DIY brothers who don't curse, don't drink, two Christian boys, as their dad calls them, and a Canadian that, loves wrestling, but was soured on wrestling by his time in WWE as a trainee.
His full name is
and thought he could
Omega. I learned that this week.
Yeah. And, him and Creed being friends, despite the fact that they're not in companies, it kind of ties into what Cam mentioned with CM Punk and like, if you're still there, you're dead to me. Like, some people are different. And this ain't that when it comes to Kenny and Austin, because those guys, even though they're in different companies, I know we'll get to the stream, but my favorite part of the stream wasn't just the video game playing. It was that he said something about, like, you guys are going to work your way back to the mid-card when you get back. And then he, stopped after me. I'm sorry. That was harsh.
You waiting for to write your promo for you?
He's like, I went too far. I'm sorry.
But let's talk about the stream, because you're right. This is something that it kind of evolved as it was happening, because Kenny wins the title. An article goes up on WWE.com about the upcoming stream, referring to them as indie wrestlers, Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. The article is then amended to include them as IWGP Heavyweight and Tag Team Champions, respectively, and to call them out as the Elite. The stream happens. It's heavily promoted, not just on the E3 stream, but also cross-streamed on Xavier Woods' WWE affiliated YouTube channel, Up, Up, Down, Down. And then the network puts out Hidden Gems, the Omega Man collection. What the hell?
Yeah, and for anyone who wants to say, because there were a few people who jumped on my mentions about it's just a coincidence and they were just trying to put up the library. All of the people that Kenny Omega wrestles in that collection are not in wrestling or not anywhere right now.
Right.
They did that for a reason. And that ties into what you said. Like 2018 is great, but 2019 and 2020, and we're going to talk about this on the deep dive, is going to be unprecedented because they're going to have more money than the WWE has ever had in its existence. And if I know Triple H and Vince McMahon like I think I do from years of fandom and observing them, word to Dave, they're going to throw more money than is legally allowable at any wrestler they think could particularly threaten them.
Yeah, they're going to give them so much money, and they're going to give them a lot of control.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. The amount of control they're about to offer Kenny and the Bucks is going to shock people.
Yeah, it's going to be the Thanos finger snap. That's what I've been calling it. Like you're just waiting for them to get that final gem to clear.
It's like their merch deal will be a different one than anyone's ever seen.
Yeah, it's going to be close. It's going to be what they did with AJ and the
it's going to be
Gallows and Anderson, but by tens of millions of dollars more.
Rich. Like, they're not going to they're not going to make them bring the merch under WWE. They're going to let them have their own merch. I guarantee it.
Oh man, if they pull that,
if they can pull off the independent finance money stream of let us keep our own merch, we'll do WWE merch obviously, but let us keep a store, maybe not a full store. Well, maybe we'll have those negotiations. Maybe you buy out our store for an exorbitant price. But let's find a way that everyone keep making money because I love the Bucks. I love Kenny Omega. I love professional wrestling. But the reason they do it is to sell us merch, and they do it better than anyone else in the world.
And the irony of this all is they wouldn't have leaned so heavy into the elite stuff if New Japan wouldn't let the wrestlers get a percentage of Bullet Club merchandise. It all goes to New Japan, for those of you guys who don't know. And then WWE jumped in with the cease and desist with Too Sweet. So you've now hemmed them into a corner where they had the elite, and now with the addition of Kota Ibushi, the golden elite, and that's all their intellectual property. So now if they do like what you say and they get to keep that stuff and just say, hey, go see our shop on, Pro Wrestling Tees, and WWE.com will have the same stuff only with their license, that's a lot of freaking money. Because I think a lot of people.
As much as you and I and other wrestling marks know about PWT, there is a large section of fans who would buy their stuff strictly from WWE.
Right.
It's like I'm a little bit nervous because I think we're going to get this, and I think it's going to change professional wrestling forever, and in a very, very good way. Speaking of changing professional wrestling forever, take over Chicago 2. And I want to go into this quick. We're not going to go through a full breakdown of it because we could be here for the entire length of the event. I want to get this out of the way first. I'm not going to talk about the two individual title matches. They were fine. They were good matches. They did what they had to do. Yep. I love Shayna Baszler. I love Nikki Cross. I'm a huge Nikki Cross mark. Aleister Black carried. Lars, screw carried. Lars did very well. Still a little green, but, he looks fine in there. He's going to do the monster thing very well. The matches of the night. We'll start with the first one. Velveteen Dream out here in Hulk Hogan cosplay. In Prince Puma tights. In NATO boots. Wrestling.
Yeah.
The King, Ricochet. Yo.
He's a problem, man. Well, first, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that Cam had to scumbag it up and put that meme of Nikki Cross out there because he's trying to deal with people.
I don't feel like cussing came out this morning.
Yeah. I came back at him with the ridiculousness of Ricochet either I'm assuming loaning from what it looks like, loaning Velveteen his Prince Puma pants to wrestle against him, where he's a good 5 to 7 inches taller and several pounds heavier, and they still have the same waistline.
That's a real good point.
That's not fair. Like, Patrick Clark shouldn't exist. He is a freaking creative wrestler, and everyone
was kicked off enough by Hulk Hogan who said he couldn't cut a promo.
I love the fact that you retweeted that, because hearing each one of those words, I don't know, you just seem like a smart that knows a little too much. It's like, all right, watch me.
Know this, Hulk. Ooh, it burned me. The next match I want to talk about, the Undisputed Era versus Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch, where the former Biff Buziak probably he's a made guy now, right? That was a performance.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this with one of my colleagues at the Torch. The fact that you had this tag match, and on the main roster, this most likely would have been something on a pre-show where they threw two guys together. We had a year of Lorcan and Burch beating each other senseless, and then realizing, hey, we're cool, and let's tag up, and then, hey, we're cool, but we hate the Undisputed Era, and hey, let's start teaming with the Bruiserweight Pete Dunne, and now they get a tag title match. And so we've been on their journey. And then on the other side, we've seen the Undisputed Era go from 2 guys to 3 guys to 4 guys, and now they've become the Mount Rushmore of wrestling, WWE edition. I didn't think I would see outside of PWG. I mean, Roderick Strong is Cam-level scumbag.
I'm glad that Cam is a level of scumbag now. This is good. Yo, and
he just shows up.
Sleazy.
He's got the jacket, and he's got the abs, and he's just like, you know what? That means I can do anything. Again, like my good man, Cameron Hawkins.
And then sleazy Kyle O'Reilly playing the belt like a guitar. I'm a huge fan of all 4 of those guys in that match last night. And yeah, this could be. You know how we said that. So one of the things I said a couple years ago was that DIY was a resurgence of tag team wrestling. And I was afraid that when they broke them up that we'd see a dip. Nuh-uh, I was wrong. I take it all back and I apologize, because there's still the Warbeards out there. There's still Heavy Machinery. There's still our boys in what's the man's names? Montez Ford and what's their tag team name?
Oh, Street Profits.
The Street Profits. My goodness, I hate that name, but I love that team. The tag team division, the future of it's in good hands. And get well soon, Bobby Fish. I really hope there's a place for you still. Yeah, man, I just want to say thank you again for coming on, man. Thank you for being the first guest of Palm Studios 3.0. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your Father's Day. And I cannot wait to be on the deep dive next week on the 26th of June. Is it 26th or 24th? 23rd.
Oh, God.
Time is a flat circle. It's the 23rd. I'll be on there. Tell them how they can listen.
All right. You can go on to PWTorchLivecast.com, or you can call in 515-605-9345, 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturday.
There you have it, guys. Rich, tell them where they can find you on social media, too.
Oh, yeah, sure. Hit me up on Twitter at Rich_Fann. There I talk about football, wrestling, politics, life, universe, everything. And I'm on Instagram, but most of the time it's just pictures of my son or dumb things, and that's at r.deuce.
I really do appreciate having you on. That was your show. This is your outro. See you guys next week.